Rocky III from 1982. A while ago, I did a video for Rocky IV, which is probably the most fun and wacky Rocky movie to talk about. But Rocky III is also pretty fun. There's a lot of weird stuff in it. You know, it's not as over the top as Rocky IV, but it's also not as earnest and dramatic as Rocky I or II. It's kind of like Rocky enters the 80s with this movie. Very similar to the Rambo movies. Like if Rocky I and II are akin to First Blood, then Rocky III is like First Blood Part 2. And it even has some 80s icons in it. Mr. T as Clubber Lang. You see this character and you know exactly what decade you're in. Hulk Hogan also has a small role. So much like Rocky IV, it is very 80s. You can't mistake it for any other decade. But it's also, I think, the only Rocky movie that feels like a summer movie. Rocky I, IV, and V were released around the holidays. Rocky II came out in the summer, but that movie definitely has a winter feel to it, I think. Whereas Rocky III just feels like a summertime blockbuster, due in no small part to that beach scene, which we'll get to, of course. But that's enough of a pointless intro. I say we just get into it. Rocky III from 1982, directed by Sylvester Stallone, starring Sylvester Stallone, Carl Weathers, Talia Shire, Mr. T, Burgess Meredith, and Burt Young. The movie opens up just as most Rocky sequels do, with a recap of the final fight from the previous movie. Rocky wins the heavyweight championship from Apollo Creed. And I don't mean to start talking about Rocky II, when I'm supposed to be talking about Rocky III. But in Rocky II, Rocky knocks down Apollo Creed, but Rocky falls down too. And the ref begins counting them both out, which is not what would happen in a real bout. I know it's kind of pointless to expect any kind of reality from a Rocky fight, but Rocky knocks down Apollo with a punch, but nobody knocks Rocky down. His fall would be considered a trip in an actual boxing match, and he wouldn't be counted out. Even if he passed out, he wouldn't be counted out because Apollo didn't knock him down. So the idea that Rocky has to get to his feet before Apollo is nonsense. Rocky could just lay on the canvas in the fetal position and he would still win the fight as long as Apollo doesn't answer the 10 count. But it doesn't really matter. Rocky wins the title in a remarkable 15-round upset over Apollo Creed. Now the movie actually starts. And of course, what better way for it to start than with a montage? A montage set to Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Yes, this is the Rocky movie that introduced us to that song. And it rules. And basically 5 years have passed since Rocky won the title. And we're getting caught up on everything Rocky's been up to since then. And it's a lot. He is exactly where Apollo Creed used to be. He is a full-on celebrity. He's winning fights left and right. He is on magazine covers. He's doing commercials. He's even hanging out with the Muppets. And that's how you know you've made it. He's even in an advertisement for DeLorean. And in just a couple of years, they'll be out of business. So not even Rocky could save the poorly made, overpriced, cocaine-induced DeLorean DMC-12. Tragic. Only Doc Brown is capable of turning that car into a net positive. He also meets not one, not two, but 3 U.S. presidents. There was an awful lot of turnover in the White House from 1976 to 1981. And while Rocky is winning all these fights, he is being observed by another boxer named Clubber Lang. And I'm assuming that Clubber is a nickname. And fun fact, Rocky is also a nickname. Did you know that Rocky's real name is supposed to be Robert Balboa? Just doesn't sound right, does it? Hey, yo, my name is Bob Balboa, the Sicilian Clydesdale. Just doesn't have the same ring to it. Anyway, Clubber has also been winning all his fights and in brutal fashion, and he is quickly rising up the ranks to become a top contender for the heavyweight championship. And then it jumps over to Paulie, who is still a drunk, but he's even more bitter than usual. He is tired of seeing his famous best friend everywhere he goes. He wanders into an arcade, sees a Rocky pinball machine, and he throws a bottle of liquor at it, smashing it to pieces. He ends up getting arrested, and Rocky picks him up. And Paulie is complaining a lot. Paulie thinks Rocky is living large and not doing anything for him. He tells Rocky that he and Adrian can go to hell. And he tries to guilt Rocky into feeling bad about not being more generous to him. And he says something weird. He says he fixed Rocky up with his first woman.
You know, you forget when you were a punk and those guys used to laugh at you because you're so jive? Who used to whack them bums out?
They laughed at both of us.
No one laughed at me. Tell me, who fixed you up with your first woman? Me, Paulie, I was responsible.
She was pregnant.
So what? You was no prize either.
It's kind of difficult to hear the dialogue in the parking lot, but when he first says this, I thought he was talking about Adrian. But I think he means he set Rocky up with his first girlfriend, and he apparently wants to be rewarded for this for the remainder of his life, even though, as Rocky points out, she was pregnant. And I guess that's something Rocky would have liked to know about beforehand. Fair enough. And then Paulie turns it into a complete insult by saying you was no prize neither. And then he goes on to whine about how Rocky bought a big house and Mickey moved in with him and Adrian. And he complains about not being invited too. I mean, what is wrong with Paulie? Mickey is an old man. He's probably got nowhere else to go. And Paulie sees it as an insult that he helped out Mickey and not himself. I don't know what's wrong with Paulie in this movie, but it's pretty bad. He's so much fun in Rocky IV, but he's kind of insufferable here. And Rocky has finally had enough of this. He says to Paulie that he's like a crazy brother to him. He says he's not a loser. He's just a jealous, lazy bum. Now, I don't know if there's a whole lot of difference between calling someone a loser and a bum. They're both kind of insulting, but whatever. The point is made. And Paulie decides he's going to try to fight Rocky. I mean, like I said, Paulie is nuts in this movie. Eventually, he gets tired of swinging and hitting nothing. And he asks Rocky for a job. And Rocky says, all you had to do was ask. And that's the funny part. Like, Rocky is such a sweet human being. So if Paulie could just express himself like a halfway decent person, there's no doubt that Rocky would help him out. There's no reason for him to get drunk and arrested and start throwing punches. We'll come back to Paulie later because we haven't even scratched the surface of his mental deficiencies yet. And then we get to see Rocky's home. He's living in a mansion somewhere in the Philly suburbs, I'm assuming. Big change from the house he was living in the last movie, and an even bigger change from where he started. Rocky is living the life right now, and he's winning fights, but he doesn't have much to fight for. And he lays in bed with Adrian, and he starts singing the song that the street folks like to sing in his hometown. And by street folks, I mean Frank Stallone. You know, the Take You Back, Do-Do-Do-Do song. And he wants Adrian to sing the song too, and she can't do it.
It's good, but it's not dodo. Do. That's good enough.
I'm a little worried about Adrian because for some reason she's hearing do when he's clearly saying do. Maybe she needs a hearing test. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not even sure what the point of this scene is other than to show that Adrian can't sing a song that requires no singing ability whatsoever. And then it jumps over to the Battle of the Champions. Rocky is going up against a pro wrestler for charity. Should be fun, right? Wrong. Because the wrestler is Hulk Hogan. But he's also not. Because he's really Thunderlips, the ultimate male. And I guess he's kind of like a giant blonde pimp. I don't know. But the announcer says he's nearly 7 feet tall and 390 pounds. And Hulk Hogan is big, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he's that big. I think he's probably closer to 6'7", maybe closer to 300 pounds. But if they make him seem bigger, that will also make Rocky seem less small by comparison. And everyone is marveling at the sight of Thunderlips. Even Adrian, who reacts like this.
Oh my God.
I mean, was that Adrian Balboa from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Because it sounded more like Talia Coppola, aka Talia Shire, from Queens, New York. Hottest thing she said in 5 movies. And Thunderlips, of course, announces himself as the ultimate male, and he calls Rocky the ultimate meatball, which I think is meant to be a bit of a slur against Rocky for his Italian heritage. But it's Hulk Hogan, so it probably doesn't even crack the top 10 slurs he's said in real life. Anyway, the fight begins. Rocky obviously thinks this is maybe not fake, but certainly planned. And that it's going to be some kind of a team effort between the two of them to put on a show. But Thunderlips has other ideas. He starts hitting him for real, or at least more real than what Rocky was prepared for. Paulie shouts out, "Rocco, remember the neighborhood." Good advice, Paulie. That's really great. Really helpful. Rocky ends up getting thrown out of the ring. It's mayhem. The crowd doesn't like it. Despite the fact that this is a charity event, these hooligans are throwing garbage in the ring. Paulie cuts Rocky's gloves off, and he gets back into the ring. Mickey is freaking out, and he seems to have a cardiac episode that no one really seems to notice. One of the people on Rocky's team does notice, and asks if Mickey is okay, and he says it's his heart. But this guy will never inform anybody about what just happened to Mickey, so I don't know. You'd think that he would mention that to Rocky. Hey, your trainer might be having a heart attack, but he never says that. And they continue fighting. Rocky hits Thunderlips with several bare-knuckle body shots, and I don't care how big Thunderlips is, that should slow him down pretty significantly. I mean, a power-punching heavyweight champion of the world is hitting him with bare fists. Hulkamania would not be running wild. But it apparently is, because Thunderlips shakes it off and keeps coming at Rocky. Paulie breaks a wooden chair over his back. How exciting. And eventually Rocky manages to put Thunderlips in a chokehold and throw him out of the ring, which is kind of a miracle in and of itself. He then gets back in the ring, and the fight is called a draw. It's over, finally. Thunderlips says good match. Was it? I mean, not really. And Rocky asks, why did you get so crazy on me out there? And Thunderlips says, that's the name of the game. Okay, if you say so. And they pose for a picture. How nice. And sometime later, Rocky is reading a story to his young son, which is nice to see. In the last movie, he couldn't really read well at all. And now he's learned enough to be able to read to his kid. So it's cool to see that he has made more than just financial progress. And he's about to head to some kind of ceremony in Philadelphia, and he's leaving his son with Paulie, which seems kind of nuts. I don't think Paulie is the best possible babysitter, do you? Where's the robot from Rocky IV? That thing was the original Mrs. Doubtfire. That's what you need for a babysitter, not a drunk with a gambling problem. And Paulie greets Adrian by saying, Mrs. Stallion, you almost look pretty good. That might be the nicest thing he said to her in 5 movies. I mean, Jesus. You almost look pretty good. Why did he have to say almost? You know, this is his sister. Why can't he just say, you look nice, you look great? That's all he has to say. Anyway, they're at the ceremony, and they unveil a big Rocky statue. And this statue is not just for this movie. It's actually in Philadelphia. It seems like it gets moved around a lot. I mean, maybe somebody from the area could clarify. I've seen pictures where it's at the top of the steps of the art museum. The same steps that Rocky runs up in Rocky 1 and 2. But there's also times where it seems like it's in a different location. But either way, I always thought it was pretty cool that it's something that you can actually go see. And Rocky gives a speech. He thanks his fans, the city of Philadelphia, and the sport of boxing. And he announces his retirement. And Clubber Lang shows up. And guess what? He's angry. I mean, what else is new? That's like his whole character is being pissed off for the entire movie. And he insults Rocky. He says he's been ducking him. Mickey tells Rocky not to listen to him. Clubber says he's now ranked number 1 and he wants a title shot. Rocky seems willing to fight him, but Mickey doesn't want any part of it. Then Clubber Lang starts verbally harassing Adrian. He says this.
Hey woman! Hey woman! Listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you'd like to see a real man. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man. You want it, you got it! You got it!
So, I mean, that was uncalled for, and Rocky obviously took it personally, and I can't say I blame him. But this was clearly a media fiasco. He just accepted a fight in front of, hundreds of cameras. And they head home where Rocky has a talk with Mickey. Mickey says he wants nothing to do with one more fight, especially not one with Clubber Lang. He tells Rocky that he can't win. This guy will kill him inside of 3 rounds. And Rocky says this.
He's just another fighter.
No, he ain't just another fighter. This guy is a wrecking machine, and he's hungry. Hell, you ain't been hungry since you won that belt.
Oh, what are you talking about? I've had 10 title defenses.
That was easy.
What do you mean easy?
They was handpicked.
Setups?
Yeah, they were setups. They was good fighters, but they wasn't killers like this guy.
So Rocky is obviously upset that he wasn't fighting the toughest guys in the world. And Mickey says that it was his job to keep Rocky healthy and to keep him winning. And he goes on to say that a few years ago, Rocky was supernatural. He was all heart. He had a cast iron jaw. But the worst thing happened that could happen to any fighter. He got civilized. So he's obviously making the case for Rocky to retire. But Rocky insists on one more fight. And Mickey reluctantly agrees after Rocky threatens to tell everyone that Mickey hasn't bought a new pair of underwear in 10 years. How Rocky would know that, I have no idea, but it's apparently privileged information. And this fucking picture is hanging awfully low on this wall, is it not? Why is it like the same height as the doorknob? Who knows? Anyway, training begins, and it's pretty clear that it's not the hardcore disciplined training that led Rocky to beating Apollo. It's more like a party, a spectacle. Fans from Philadelphia are watching Rocky work out like it's a show. Mickey pretty much begs Rocky to leave this creep joint, as he puts it, and go back to the old gym. But Rocky is having too much fun. And in total contrast, Clubber Lang is seen training in what looks like a medieval dungeon. It's obvious that he's taking this very seriously, and Rocky is not. And some girl goes up to Rocky while he's working out and asks if she can give him a kiss, and he agrees. And she kisses him on the cheek, which is not only a little flippant for Rocky, but he also does it in front of Adrian, which seems a little disrespectful, is it not? Definitely seems like Rocky has lost his way a bit. He's really making the same kinds of mistakes that Apollo made prior to their first fight. And as training comes to a close, Mickey tells Rocky that he's proud of him. And Rocky asks, "What do you think we'll do when it's all over?" And Mickey says, "Maybe join up with the circus," or as he puts it, the soicus. I don't know what that means exactly, but Mickey likes the circus, so that's nice. And now it's fight night. How exciting. Clubber Lang angrily smashes some cameras. They're trying to interview him, and he doesn't like it. I mean, if he doesn't want an interview, why did they even let the reporters into the locker room? Anyway, he heads toward the entrance, and there's a pre-fight kerfuffle. Clubber can't stop himself from yelling and screaming and threatening Rocky. He's literally about to go fight him. They've agreed to this championship fight, but Clubber Lang is more interested in having a backstage brawl. And Mickey gets shoved in the chaos, and he clutches his chest in pain. Adrian is the first one to notice, and they get him back to the locker room. Rocky wants to cancel the fight, but Mickey tells him not to. He insists that Rocky fights. The doctor is on his way. Rocky heads out to fight Clubber Lang alone. The last time he didn't have Mickey by his side was when he fought Spider Rico in that old church from Rocky 1. He doesn't have Adrian either. She's staying behind to see that Mickey is taken care of. All he has is Paulie, and that is not going to cut it. Especially not the Paulie from this movie. And they reach the ring, and the Italian stallion symbol is on the canvas in the ring. I mean, how often does that happen? Like when has a fighter's logo been in the middle of the ring? I guess that just shows how popular Rocky is. And Apollo Creed is also here. He's going to be doing some ringside commentary, and he greets both fighters. Very similar to when real-life boxing legend Joe Frazier greeted Apollo Creed and Rocky during their first fight. And of course, Clubber has to be overly insulting and antagonistic to Apollo, basically challenging him to a fight right here. You know, for a guy who wanted a title shot so badly, you'd think he'd be focused on that, but he's not. He's focused on beating the shit out of whoever happens to be standing in front of him. And Apollo greets Rocky and tells him to do everyone a favor and drop this chump. So Apollo is a fan of Rocky. He even predicts that Rocky will win the fight during his commentary. And the fight begins. Rocky comes out swinging. He is fighting like he really just wants to knock Clubber Lang out as soon as humanly possible so he can get back to the locker room and see how Mickey is doing. But that's not going to work against an opponent like this. Clubber makes a quick comeback, and by the end of the first round, Rocky is bloodied and he doesn't know what to do. He's basically panicking, and he says that Clubber is too strong. He needs Mickey. And the second round starts, and it does not go well. Rocky gets knocked out. Clubber wins. Tragic. Clubber is the new heavyweight champion of the world, and yet he's still somehow pissed. I mean, he is angrily grunting at the crowd. And he won. What the hell is he like when he loses? And the defeated and dejected Rocky heads to the locker room. Somehow Mickey is still there and not on his way to the hospital. But he has been examined by a doctor. It's pretty clear he's suffering from a massive heart attack. Rocky speaks to him, and Mickey asks if it's over. And Rocky says yes. It was a knockout in the second round. Mickey says that's good. He obviously thinks Rocky is the guy who won the fight. And then Mickey says his final goodbye to Rocky.
I love you, kid. I love you. All right, straight.
Nick? Nick?
I mean, this scene hits pretty hard. It's so well acted. I mean, up until this point, it feels like it belongs in a different movie. I mean, everything has been over the top and borderline cartoonish so far, and then this scene comes along and hits you like a gut punch. And it's very similar to Apollo's death in Rocky IV in that regard, except I think Mickey's death is better because it feels more necessary for the story. I personally don't think Apollo should have died. And this could have been avoided. Mickey could have been more open about his condition. I mean, I know he's kind of an old school guy, but if he had just said, listen, I can't do another fight with you, Rocky, because I'm getting old. I have this heart thing. and I just want to retire. And I'm pretty sure Rocky would have understood that. Rocky could have also asked and said, hey, is it your health? Is there something wrong? Is that the reason why you don't want to do this? I mean, just a little bit of communication might have prolonged Mickey's life a little bit longer. But it wouldn't have made for a very interesting movie, now would it? And they have a funeral for Mickey, and you can see the plaque says Mickey Goldmill, 1905 to 1981, which would make him 76, which is a bit of a continuity error, because in Rocky 1, Mickey says that he's 76 years old, and that movie takes place in 1975. He should really be 82. And even Rocky's son seems maybe a couple of years older than he should be, considering he was only born in 76. But that's irrelevant. And you have to be a real Rocky nerd to even notice these things. And it's certainly not as noticeable as it is in Rocky 5, when his son seemed to have aged like 5 years in the time it took Rocky and Adrian to return home from Russia. But all of this is irrelevant, so moving on. Rocky is not taking this well. He rides his motorcycle around sulking. He throws his helmet at his own statue, and he rides away without his helmet, which feels kind of reckless, but it's the 80s, so it's fine. And I have no idea how he got his motorcycle up these steps. I mean, I'm not from Philadelphia. I don't know the Philadelphia Museum of Art that well, but does it have motorcycle access? I don't know. I have my doubts. And he heads to Mickey's old gym. And it seems to be abandoned at the moment. And Apollo shows up. Rocky asks why he's here. And Apollo basically tries to convince Rocky to not give up, to challenge Clubber Lang for a rematch. And he says that we both held the greatest title in the whole world. He says maybe we can win it back together. He acknowledges that Rocky's manager dying had him all messed up during the fight, but he also didn't have the eye of the tiger. So there you go. He said the thing. And he's basically saying that Rocky lost because he's not hungry anymore, which is exactly what Mickey tried to warn him about. And Rocky agrees to let Apollo be his new trainer for a rematch with Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang accepts the challenge, although the way he puts it is that he rejects it because Balboa is no challenge, but he'll be more than happy to beat up on him some more. And the news anchor says that the odds of Balboa making a comeback at 34 are very long. And once again, the numbers don't add up because Rocky said he was 30 in the first Rocky movie, which was 6 years ago, but whatever. I'm getting hung up on nonsense as usual. And they're heading to LA to train where Apollo originally got his start. And they are leaving Rocky Jr. with, I don't know, a boring babysitter of some kind who is not a robot. Tragic. And Paulie is complaining about this trip from the get-go, and he complains even more when they arrive and head inside the gym. There's a bunch of other fighters there, and they're all black dudes. And that is only relevant because Paulie is acting like he's never seen a black person before. And he's acting as though he doesn't want to be around black fighters. He doesn't actually say it outright, but he says things like, he doesn't like these people. There's no class in here. As though Paulie is some kind of authority on class. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he combs his hair with his toothbrush. Anyway, long story short, Paulie is kind of racist in this movie, for some reason. And it might make some sense if this was part of maybe a minor character arc where he learns some level of tolerance or something, but this is Paulie. Let's face it, that's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, this is like his last big scene in the movie. He's basically an extra in the background after this. And the situation comes to a head when he makes one too many comments, and it pisses off Apollo. And Paulie is acting like he wants to fight Apollo now. I mean, is he completely out of his mind? When he tried to fight Rocky earlier, he had the benefit of a friendship with Rocky. Rocky cares about him for some reason and didn't want to actually hurt him. And he can't expect that same kind of consideration with Apollo. Apollo would literally kill him and look cool doing it. And Adrian is looking at Apollo like, yes, please kill Paulie. I mean, what is wrong with Paulie in this movie? He has always been kind of the dumb comic relief, but in this movie, it is next level. In my Rocky IV video, I said that's Paulie's best movie because he's just kind of a fun-loving goofball, and he even has a heartfelt moment with Rocky before the fight with Drago. He also has some great moments in Rocky VI. But in this movie, there's none of that. I almost feel like there was a subplot cut out of the movie where it's revealed that Paulie has brain damage from drinking too much or something. I don't know. It's really bizarre. But moving on, finally. And they start training. It's going well, but not really. It's pretty clear that Rocky's heart just isn't in it. And then Rocky and Adrian settle into their hotel, and it's, it's not exactly 5 stars, but Adrian remains positive. She says, at least the water's hot. And hey, we never really had a honeymoon. It's not so bad. Which I think is impressive. I mean, she's been living in a mansion for the past 5 years, and she's still taking everything in stride like she's, just a humble girl from Philly. It's subtle, but I like it. And Rocky's training comes to an unfortunate halt when he runs on a beach with Apollo, and he just gives up. And look at Apollo's outfit. The crop top, the short shorts, the long socks. I mean, I don't know whether I love it or I hate it, but it's the 80s, so let's face it, I probably love it. And Adrian has a talk with Rocky. She says she's never seen him quit anything since she's known him. And basically Rocky explains that he feels like a fraud because Mickey set up all those fights so he could hold on to the title longer than he should have had it. Which is kind of bullshit because he was still fighting guys who were considered to be top contenders. Clubber Lang only recently became the #1 contender, so it's not his fault and it's not Mickey's fault that all the guys that Rocky beat weren't as good as Clubber Lang. And Rocky admits that he's afraid. For the first time in his life, he's afraid, which seems unlikely. He says he's afraid of losing again, screwing things up, looking like even more of a fraud than he already feels. And once again, Adrian is the catalyst that gets Rocky back on track. She helps him see what his self-doubt and grief over Mickey's death was preventing him from seeing, and now he's got his motivation back. And he's not doing it for Adrian or anyone else, he's doing it for himself. But she shows him how to do that, and makes him want to do it for himself. It's a great scene. And now the genuine montage begins. Rocky is training hard. The classic Bill Conti Rocky theme is playing. He's back. And it makes sense because the heart of Rocky Balboa, combined with the knowledge and experience and technique of Apollo Creed, would make for a very dangerous fighter. They run on the beach once more. This time Rocky passes Apollo, which doesn't look all that difficult because Apollo is clearly just lightly jogging, but it's a success. They celebrate a little too much, I would say. They jump in the water. They hug each other. I mean, it's a little suspicious. You're not imagining that, but it's okay. It's the 80s. Things happen. And it's finally fight night. Clubber Lang is being interviewed, which is weird because in the last fight, he smashed the cameras and didn't want to be interviewed, but now he's relatively fine with it. And he says this.
Would you care to comment on how you plan to fight Balboa? What's your strategy?
Don't need any. Balboa's so predictable and stupid. The man comes straight ahead. He's tailor-made for me, and he's gonna get hurt. No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool, and I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
So there's the iconic Mr. T pity the fool line, and this is where it originated. But it's weirdly and erroneously associated with his A-Team character, B.A. Baracus, as well. And I'm not sure why, because he never says it on that show. I mean, it would be kind of ridiculous if he did. That's like Arnold saying, I'll be back in other movies besides The Terminator, which, of course, he does. At any rate, Apollo gives Rocky his trunks from the first fight they had together, and he insists that Rocky wears them, which is kind of weird. It's a little symbiotic on the surface of it, but it's a nice sentiment. And he tells Rocky that after this, you owe me a big favor. And this is something he's been saying throughout the movie to Rocky, but he doesn't really explain what he means by that. And obviously, Rocky is just as confused about it as the audience. The fighters make their way to the ring and prepare for the first round. Clubber Lang decides to push Apollo because I guess you can't have a scene with this guy where he doesn't try to fight some random person. And finally, the fight starts. It's an intense back and forth. Rocky gets knocked down, but surprisingly, he is blocking a lot of the incoming punches, which is in contrast to his usual method of blocking them with his face. It also seems like Rocky is fighting left-handed again, which is something he didn't do in Rocky 2, because it was a way of protecting his bad right eye, which seems to no longer be a factor. There are a couple Rocky movies where he sustains a career-ending injury, and then in the next movie, he just kind of brushes it aside like it never happened. It's kind of weird. Anyway, when round 3 begins, Rocky begins verbally antagonizing Clubber Lang, which, of course, makes him angry. It really doesn't take much, and he is swinging wildly at Rocky, and eventually he wears himself out. Rocky is able to knock him out. Rocky wins, and once again regains the heavyweight title. It's a miracle. And I really like that this was not another 15-round epic duel like the first 2 movies. It makes sense that it would be a short fight. Clubber Lang's never been in a long fight, so it's actually a smart strategy to wear him out early. Rocky 3 and Rocky 2 are kind of the only 2 Rocky movies that involve some kind of strategy in the final fight. In any case, with the fight now over, we get to see what favor Apollo was going to ask of Rocky. Turns out that he wants to fight him again, but not in an official bout, just the 2 of them in private. And Apollo says, when you won that last fight, you beat me by 1 second, which, as I said earlier, is not true. He beat him by 10 seconds, but he's obviously still annoyed by it. And Rocky says, didn't you say you learned how to live with it? And Apollo says he lied. And apparently, they're just going to have a real fight with no protective sparring headgear or anything. They're just going to beat the hell out of each other in front of no crowd for free. Because that's how much they love and respect each other, apparently. And the movie ends on the iconic freeze frame. Eye of the Tiger starts playing, and the image morphs into a kind of cool painting of the 2 of them. And that's the movie. Overall, I think it's a really fun movie. I used to think it was my least favorite of the first 4 Rocky movies, and maybe it still is, but that's not a knock on it. I still think it's a really great Rocky movie. The tone shifts around a bit. I mean, some of it is very much like the first 2 movies, while the rest of it feels more over the top like Rocky 4. And it's kind of fitting that Hulk Hogan has a cameo in this movie because the whole movie feels like a wrestling storyline. I mean, you've got this outlandish, exaggerated bad guy who is bad in every scene he's in. He doesn't have a moment of humanity. And even Drago had a moment of humanity in Rocky 4. You've also got 2 bitter rivals putting aside their past and joining forces. I mean, that happens a lot in wrestling. And just the fact that Rocky loses at first, but then regains the title, it just feels very wrestling. Mickey's death is kind of the only thing that keeps it grounded in any kind of reality. But that's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's a very fun movie. But as far as Rocky himself, it feels like his Rocky-isms are not really a factor in this. You know, Rocky says goofy things in the first 2 movies. There's a lot less of that in this movie. Pretty much because of Mickey's death, so I get it. But I just kind of miss the silly Rocky lines, you know, like, why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me too much. I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot, you know. You just don't get any of that in Rocky 3 and 4. But I'm rambling just a tad, so let me know what you think of Rocky 3. And it may be a few weeks before my next video. I figure it's time I started working on a video for Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. I've been putting that off for a while, and I thought Rocky 3 would be a fun break from sci-fi, but after covering it, I'm actually looking forward to getting back to Star Trek. So that's definitely going to be my next one, but the Star Trek movies usually take me a little longer, so I'm just trying to give myself a little leeway. Anyway, that's all I've got for now, and until next time, take it easy.